Okay, this is the armchair actor here, and you can probably hear my dog snoring in the background. She likes to hang out with me, and when I'm doing something like this, I don't keep her out of the studio. If I'm reading something for money or for a client, it's different. But this is just for fun. This is a reading of a poem that I've always liked, and I'm going to follow it up with a little bit of discussion and analysis, so you can see how I came to read it the way I do, how I approached it, and how I developed the interpretation that I use. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and perhaps having the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Okay, I'm going to preface my interpretation study by saying I think this poem should be read by a younger man. I'm in my 60s. I think I'm too old to read this poem. And here's why. A lot of people, when they read this poem, think it's the reflection of an old gentleman looking back on his life and seeing that one decision he made affected everything that followed. Well, I don't think that's the truth of this poem. As Robert Frost said himself when asked about it, he said, "Oh, that's a tricky one." And here's why it's tricky. When I read a poem, I always look for a key word or a key phrase that unlocks the meaning for me. And for me, that's in this last stanza. This last stanza right here. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. This one line here, I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence, puts the poet in the future. All of what he's saying is an examination of what he'll believe years from now. The poem isn't about how one road or a choice of roads makes a difference in your life. He says earlier, well, they were about the same, really. I took one, but the other one was pretty much the same. And they both had the same amount of leaves, the same color. Neither of them had been trodden black. But ages and ages from now, I'll look back on this, and I'll make meaning of it. And that's what this poem is all about to me. It's about the human inclination to find meaning where maybe there is none. We look at clouds and see a shape in the sky. And we look back on our lives, and we look for points where everything changed or something changed. And that's what he's doing here. It's not an examination of decisions that we made. It's an examination of how human beings try to make meaning of things. And it all comes down to that one line. You can do your TP cast, look at the title, look at poetic devices, look at diction, which in this case doesn't mean the way it's read, but rather the word choices Frost made. And all of those things are important when you're looking at poetry. But for me, unlocking the meaning often comes down to finding this single line, single word, or single verse that reveals everything, as I think that last verse does for this poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, one of my favorites. And I hope you enjoyed it. And it doesn't matter if you agree with me, because poetry is for each of us to find meaning in. And if you find a different meaning, well, maybe I'm wrong. I have to admit that I've been wrong before, and I will be again. But I hope you enjoyed my reading, and I hope you enjoyed this little discussion of one of the great poems of the 20th century. Please come back again if you like poetry. There'll be more.